Welcome to Awkward Chats, where we take you on a hilarious journey behind the scenes of our travel adventures, and it can get a little awkward.
I'm Nacy.
And I'm Gary.
And together, we make up Lost Girl in Tomorrowland, our YouTube channel, where we go on fun adventures all across the U.S. But that wasn't enough. We wanted a place where we could talk about the real behind the scenes that goes into producing our channel.
Awkward Chats is your ticket to the real, unfiltered side of our travel adventures and a place where we can start your awkward conversations.
So buckle up and get ready for an adventure full of laughter, mishaps, and of course, awkward topics.
You can find new episodes every month, everywhere you get your podcast. This is Awkward Chats.
So welcome back to Awkward Chats. This is going to be our February episode. So glad you guys could join us.
Yeah, we're talking today about a bunch of different topics. We'll be talking about where the podcast is right now. We'll be talking about Sweetheart Night at Disneyland.
What?
One of our sort of what a dream date would look like, and then a Reddit post that we found that's Valentine's Day related.
Little valentine-y, and it's a little awkward, so we're bringing that awkwardness back into the podcast for your enjoyment. And I am curious to know what you guys think after we share this story, because I want to know. If you listen and you get to the part with the story, by all means, share your feedback on it as well when we get there.
Yeah, we'll talk about that when we get there. So let's start off with what you've been up to.
We have been kind of busy at home getting stuff prepared for our big transition coming this spring. We're planning a move. We're still not sure exactly where we're going to land. That's still kind of up in the air. The only thing we do know is we're leaving Las Vegas.
Viva Las Vegas.
And Las Vegas was good to us. Las Vegas was good to us. So
yeah, I don't have any complaints. I like Vegas. It's just too expensive.
And we're just at another phase of the growth of the business and where things are going. We want to do, obviously Disney has always been a part of the channel and a part of the podcast and just kind of a part of us in general. And we've been away from Disney for 4 years now.
Well,
going on 5.
Yeah, I'd say theme parks more than just Disney, but I understand your Disney piece.
So obviously we want to bring that back, and it's a lot easier to do that if you live in a city that has theme parks.
Yep.
And we currently do not. While Vegas has a lot to offer, and we've talked about this before on the podcast, it's so expensive. And we're just, and there's a lot of challenges that come with filming in Las Vegas that I don't think you see in other cities. Casinos in particular make things more challenging.
Well, it kind of speaks to what's happening right now. Where was it that we just saw that? But, the Super Bowl. I mean, they're complaining that people aren't coming. Then they're complaining that people aren't sharing their experiences on like social media. But when you're in a casino, they give you so much garbage for filming. Mm-hmm. It's this like, you need to decide, casino, do you want us to film there or do you not want us to film there? And either way's fine. Yeah. But you guys need to decide what you want us to do.
And just a hit for some future quickies that are going to be coming out. We're going to be talking about
what it's like living in Las Vegas during a major
Super Bowl.
event.
Yeah.
Well, just major events, but we will be talking a lot about the Super Bowl.
Yeah, so we're going to kind of delve into that on quickies, so keep an eye out for that. But outside of that, we've just kind of been working in the background on the channel, just getting some stuff squared away. We started putting out more shorts on YouTube, so that kind of happened.
Yeah, make sure you're following us on YouTube, Lost Girl in Tomorrowland.
And if you guys have stuff you want to see in the shorts, by all means, I'm happy to make that happen. Just leave us a comment over on YouTube. And yeah, packing, selling stuff. Selling stuff is a pain. Selling stuff is a pain in the booty. Yeah. And I've been trying to, because we're offloading so much stuff for this move, because one, it's cheaper to sell it versus moving it. That is a legit pro tip. And we can get into the nitty gritty of moving cross country, because we've done it several times at this point in the last 6-7 years. We've made like 4 or 5 cross country moves. So we can definitely delve into that in a future podcast or maybe a quickie and kind of share our tips and tricks and just the headache of overall moving in general. But outside of that, I took my first hot yoga class. Hot yoga. And I don't know what I was thinking. looking back on it, it was the most relaxing workout I've ever had. But it also was very physically demanding of my body. There was a point where I questioned why I was there and if I was going to puke or pass out. But I was able to regain my composure and get back into it and kind of go from there. But it was interesting. So yeah, that's what I've been up to. What have you been up to?
Well, let's start out with, we did finally, well, shouldn't say finally. We reached 100 viewers on our Spotify. So if you're listening to us on Spotify, thank you. We got 100 views.
Thank you. 100 downloads, 100 listens, well, however you.
Yeah, and that's only over the last 8 episodes that we've actually got them up to Spotify. So we're doing pretty good.
Woo, thank you guys.
That's good. And so I'm super excited about that. Then catching up on some music, the Yellow Card album with Hammock came out. So I was listening to that in the car. Yeah, it's okay.
It's okay.
Yeah, it's just, we kind of talked about in the car. Yellow Card's main thing is the violin, and yet none of these songs really have the violin anymore. So it's like
Yellow Card without Yellow Card.
Yeah, which was nice, Yellow Card. So not bad. It's interesting if you want to hear it. It's a bunch of remixes, and it's better for me at least, because it's doing more than just Ocean Avenue. A lot of their stuff just focuses on Ocean Avenue and remakes, which is a great album, but they have other albums. And so at least this one has a few other songs from some various albums like Transmission Home. And then it has Telescope, which is one of my favorite songs of theirs. So
yeah, we talked about that when we saw them on tour last summer too, was that they made a big point about Ocean Avenue, but we're like, there's more to sing.
Right, exactly. So did that, listening to that, and then I've been catching up on Hercules: The Legendary Journey. So I'm sort of watching that as while I'm doing other things.
It's interesting.
So you've never seen that before?
I mean, I caught episodes of Hercules, but it was never anything I think I ever watched or went out of my way to watch. If it was on, I probably clicked off of it and tried to find something different. But obviously with you watching it, I'm kind of doing my own thing over in my own corner, but I occasionally look up and I'm listening to it. So, but it's interesting.
Yeah, it's a fun show. It's funny, you see the old special effects from the early 2000s, I guess, late 90s kind of special effects, and it's wow, it was not great, but in their defense, it was probably pretty good for the time. So yeah. And the stories are okay. It's interesting how Xena is in the first season. Now, we didn't watch the 4 specials, so Hercules actually starts out with 4 made-for-TV specials, so they weren't actually sure they were going to make a TV show out of it. So it came on with 4 different specials. Those were kind of hard to find because Hercules is one of those shows that was the late 90s that they actually sold to other networks. So it was in syndication basically from the get-go. Mm-hmm. So you wouldn't know where to find it. So you had to have a CW TV with a free spot or UPN even back then to watch them. So they would open up the free spot, they would buy it, but you'd have to watch it with the movies, which made it more difficult. Is whichever station bought the movie would show it, but some of them wouldn't. So it was kind of hard to watch. Kind of
like what they did with Sister Wives with those specials. They put it out, but you couldn't get it if you had it on streaming. You had to have it if you had to actually watch it on TLC.
Somewhat, but the thing is that a whole nother studio. So it would be more like there's a third studio named Hercules. Let's just call him Hercules because I don't know who actually made the show. Sorry, I don't know that. And they sold it to HBO Max for a special. And then the next special they sell it to Paramount Plus.
Oh, okay.
So you'd have to track down where they were going to sell the specials to.
It seems like that's what they're doing nowadays too, as it is. The South Park specials are all on Paramount Plus, but all the South Park episodes are on HBO Max.
Yeah, but today it's greed. Then it was just trying to find a place to actually play it on TV.
Somebody who was actually willing to take it, pay for it.
And before Reagan's administration, the studios who made TV shows couldn't own the platforms that were showing them. So it sort of got a separate place, which is how these shows made it. Now, because Reagan got rid of that and it slowly took place, now HBO can make a show for HBO, and that's all they do. You know?
Yeah, Reagan economics.
Which is sort of what destroyed TV.
And destroyed everything.
It's fun to watch. It's definitely an interesting show. It wouldn't be able to be made today, for sure. There's a lot of women that are in danger and Hercules has to save them. I mean, that's the plot of a lot of the episodes.
There's a lot of women tied up.
Which is fun.
In very scandalous outfits. There's a lot of thongs.
There is, yes. There's a lot of, you almost see it. There's a lot of lips peeking out of different areas, I feel like that's kind of the setup that they're going for.
It happens every time I look up. I'm like, damn. Okay, that's some Okay, I see why you liked this show when you were younger. I mean, if I probably had paid attention and I was younger, I might have I liked La Femme Nikita because I thought it was like a sexy show.
Yeah.
So I probably would have if I actually had sat down to watch it when I was younger. So it's very possible.
It's kind of like the scrambled porn back in the day. You'd watch all the scramble just in the hopes of seeing something, you know.
Oh God, let me
what
just,
that is.
I just need 2 more seconds. Could you? Oh God.
To be fair, I did buy back in the day. There was like a knockoff Fast and the Furious that was like a Showtime late night, you know. So it was kind of like porn-esque. Hercules is probably better quality than that, though. So you got to give them that.
Yeah. Do we still own that, or did we get rid of it? I think we still own it.
I don't think so. I think that
think
was a few years ago. We probably threw it away. Yes. Yeah. I don't think I ever actually watched it in its entirety.
I've never watched it. You never showed it to me.
Because by the time I got it, the internet had come along and all the stuff was on the internet. So it just became like,
And do I really
need this?
Do I really need this? Yeah.
And
I don't know. What is the opinion of the audience, just out of curiosity, if people actually want to chime in on this? Is it better to just stream it on the internet, or is it better to have a copy of something that you just plug and play?
For what, TV shows? Or are we talking about adult
porn? Just porn in general. Like, is that?
I think unless you have a specific niche that you enjoy, there's just so much out there that who cares if tomorrow you can't find that exact video? You're going to find something close enough to it.
True. It's definitely a saturated market.
So if you're talking about like TV shows, like would I buy Hercules if I really loved it? Yes, because that's what we do.
Yeah.
And if you're not buying the shows that you like, you're making a huge mistake. Like Crunchyroll just got bought by Sony and then absorbed. Well, Sony bought it a while ago, and now it absorbed another Filmation creation. So basically another streaming site that had anime. They bought it. They're closing that site down. So anybody who had bought anime through that site for life no longer gets it. They're just going to shut you out. Right. So if you like Dragon Ball, or if you liked whatever sort of anime that you really dig, like One Punch Man or something like that, buy the actual copies, because otherwise they're just going to take them away from you.
Yeah, and I think we've had this conversation when it comes to movies too. It's so hard. I know we in the last 2 weeks have had this conversation. It's so hard to find what you want on streaming services right now. It's all so spread out on different services, and they come and they go, and it's like, okay, well, which one do I subscribe to?
Right. And what we found is funny too, it's like with the Roku, actually the Roku channel has more variety. The Tubi stuff has more variety right now. And the weird thing is, like, right after we watch something, it always appears on the service we have. Yeah. So like we went out and watched like, it wasn't What About Bob? It was something else that we watched. What was it? We went and found it.
Oh yeah.
And then like a week later, it's on HBO Max. And we're like, how do you know? And the same thing with a bunch of other movies. It's like, we go and watch it on a free service. We watch some commercial. Oh, Tropic Thunder. I watched Tropic Thunder when we were in Jacksonville in the hotel room because we had a day off and I was already done with most of the stuff I needed to do. Great movie, by the way, if you haven't seen it. But I watched it in the hotel room, got back here, and now it's on HBO Max. It's like, okay, I could have just watched it without commercials. Cool.
Yeah, that's definitely been a problem for sure. That's streaming services in general. It's frustrating.
Well, they used to be so good when it was just Netflix and Hulu, because either Netflix had it or Hulu had it, and now
we don't own. And if you look at the stuff that we do own, we don't own a lot of shows currently. I would say majority of our discs, Blu-ray, DVDs, whatever you want to call them, are movies. Yeah. But we are trying to find the shows that we like. Like we found, I think we might have talked about this in a previous podcast. We found this awesome place in Charleston that was like an old record store that had used CDs, used movies, VHSs, and 8-tracks. I mean, who still has 8-tracks? Somebody does.
These guys.
But we found a treasure trove. And when I say treasure trove, we were not planning on bringing back that much stuff. But majority of our luggage bringing back was about 30 or so movies and shows. Because we found Burn Notice.
Mm-hmm. We found Chuck.
And we found all of the seasons of Chuck.
Yeah, we only got the first season of Burn Notice, which Burn Notice one of the greatest shows ever made.
I do love Burn Notice. That was a good show. That's like a good show, have on in the background, doing what you want, just chilling. Yeah. It's a perfect Netflix and chill show.
Yeah.
If you're looking for some Netflix and chill for Valentine's Day, turn on some Burn Notice. It's chill. It's chill. But yeah, that is something I would agree with, that you definitely should. If you really like something, you should buy it.
Yeah.
Because you never have a guarantee that when you go back to that service, that's going to be yours still, or that that service is going to still exist. And I think we said this in the car the other day, was like when you used to buy movies and they came with that code for like a forever digital copy. Yeah, like what happened to those, and do those still exist? I'm curious because I never redeemed them.
I think some of them do. I'm sure some of them do. But even if you turn on our old, like, we used to have a Vizio before we moved to, well, I guess that was to New York. Wow, that was that old, huh? But anyways, we had an old Vizio, which had an old, like all these old apps on it because it wouldn't update anymore. So it keeps the same app. And if you have an older TV too, you can look at your smart section of your TV and just look at all the old apps that used to exist.
That don't exist
like a Blockbuster app and all this stuff. And it's like, those things don't exist anymore. And that's where you got your free for life movie. And it just, not Blockbuster specific, but you know.
Yeah, yeah. It is sad that Blockbuster does not exist anymore. I would love to find.
There's one more left. There's one left.
Yeah, that's on my list of places to go see.
Yeah, it's in like Oregon somewhere.
Yeah, somewhere in the Midwest.
No, it's in the Northeast.
Oregon is not in the Northeast.
Yeah, it is.
It's in the Northwest.
No, you're right. Northwest, whatever. Yeah. Anyways, so it's in the Northwest. I'm thinking of above California is where it's located.
I don't know why I thought it was like in the middle of the United States for a second. Took me a minute.
So it is interesting. And I've just been having fun watching Hercules, honestly, and then packing. We've got so much packing done, and I feel like every time you get packing done, it's like it just grows and grows and grows. Because like you get 3 boxes done, then there's another box you got to get done. Then
you're like, oh wow, I found more shit.
Yep. But we got most of our collectible stuff packed. We've got all of our DVDs packed and movies packed, including like TV stuff. And then we've gotten most of the upstairs loft ready to be packed. We have all the books sorted out. We just have to put them in a box now, which is something we'll do this weekend. And then that'll be mostly packed too. So we're moving along. Kitchen, we're not taking much out of the kitchen, so that won't be too bad.
KitchenAid, that's it.
And then like going to the bedrooms, we basically just have side tables that'll need to be packed. And that's kind of it. We're not taking our bed or anything like that. Yeah. So we're just kind of moving through, and we're trying to keep it so it's still livable.
Yeah.
But we want to get the stuff packed at the
same livable time. And but also getting rid of stuff, which March going into April I think is going to be crunch time for us, because at that point we're going to offload the major furniture, and the bed will be the last to go, but honestly we're just going to pull that out probably to the
Oh yeah, we're gonna list it for free. So if someone wants to pick it up for free, they can come pick it up.
You can have it.
You can try to sell mattresses all you want, but it's not gonna go anywhere.
Yeah, it's also kind of gross too.
So if someone wants it, they can have it. If not, we just leave it on the sidewalk.
It's gonna go on the curb. So that'll be the last thing we get rid of. But yeah, we're gonna desks. We have desks out in the loft that we're getting rid of. All of our bookcases, our entertainment center, our kitchen table. I think we're taking some of our you can see it if you guys were watching it. The Yeti stuff that we have and some Starbucks cups. But the plates and bowls that we have are all Target specials. So, you know.
Yeah, they're like $1. So we're just going to chuck them. Anyway, I put them up for free to see if anybody gets in, given a day or two, but then it'll just go right in the trash.
Yeah, so we're hoping to make this move pretty light. That's our hope. That's our goal. We'll see what happens. We got 2.5 months, somewhere around there.
2.5 months.
And then we're just going to figure out where we're at that point and start the transition. So exciting stuff. Coming down
yeah.
And we'll take you guys all along for the ride as much as we can. And it'll be up on our YouTube channel.
Yeah. Since this month is Valentine's Day, right? So our next segment, we're going to talk a little bit about Sweetheart Night and sort of how we enjoyed Valentine's Day last year. So stick around.
So Sweetheart Night is an event that is put on over at Disneyland. It's technically a after hours event under that umbrella of Disney. It's not like a Oogie Boogie Bash or Mickey's Not So Scary or Mickey's Very Merry Christmas. It's a after hours party that Walt Disney World typically just calls after hours. But over at Disneyland, they like to do special themed ones, and Sweetheart's Night is one of those.
Yep.
And we went last year for 2023 because we thought, why not? Valentine's Day, we've not done an after hours event over at Disneyland. It's got to be great. They were just about to open Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railroads. We're like, oh, maybe we'll get to ride it. None of that happened.
Yeah, so we went to another event over at Disneyland at DCA for an after hours. So this is our second after hours event that we did over at DCA. I consider them both the same. I don't care. And they're not like so. From what we've seen in Orlando for their after hours events, now they do have an overlay and it does have a theme typically in Disneyland and that the West Coast basically. But on the East Coast, at least you get like free snacks and beverages and stuff at their nights. You don't get this at Disneyland.
Nope.
All right. And the one thing about the Disneyland stuff is it's 100% focused on Instagram. It's Instagrammable moments. I mean, I used to do a volunteer program in Orlando, and we had volunteers with some of the executives that used to work at Disney World. And one of the things that they said before we even left was where they were transitioning their social media focus, their event focus was going to be on Instagrammable moments is what they called them. And so this is clearly how these events are set up. They're just like these Instagrammable, you take a picture, you move on, you get some rare characters, you get some rare backgrounds, but that's kind of it.
Yeah, that's pretty much the majority of what that event was cardboard cutouts, long lines, and
Yes, long lines.
they were supposed to have like food, like valentine themed food, but I'm gonna be honest, we didn't even try to get the food because the lines were so long. It was a weird event.
Well, we did try. We were planning on getting something, and I don't remember what it was, but like you said, we went there and the line was over 2 hours long, and we're like, well, this event's only like 3-4 hours.
Yeah,
we're not
so
going to stand in line for two of them just to get some.
Yeah.
I think it was like a pastry that was like shaped in the shape of a heart. It wasn't anything.
We were so bummed. And I think the initial bummer, so like any Disney after hours, you can get in early, which we got there a little bit early. We didn't get there like with the full 3 hours before the park closed. We didn't quite do that. We got there maybe like an hour or so before the park closed. So we got in and we went back to Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railroad, and we honestly didn't want to ride the ride at that point. We were like, we don't want to ride. We just want to go walk around Toontown. Like that's all we want to do. We don't even care about the ride. We just want to walk around. Couldn't go back there. The only way you could go back there was if you bought a lightning lane to ride Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railroad, and it was not going to be open for the event.
Which is weird because they had just done a refurb on the land, right? And the Runaway Railroad had technically opened like a month or something earlier, a month or two earlier, which is weird. They didn't open up the rest of the land when they finished the refurb. They wanted to wait to open up the land, and it was done because when we went back there, it was completely finished. They didn't open the land till March. So they actually waited till after this event.
Like a month later,
to open it. And it basically saying that, well, you got a ticket now, but you're going to have to buy another ticket if you want to come back and see it, which was really disappointing to us.
So we were kind of on the fence. We're like, okay, well, this event is getting off to a shitty start. But we ultimately made the decision to buy a lightning lane because we were like, you know what? Let's just do it. We don't know when we're going to come back to Disneyland. Let's just do it. So we did. We bought it, went back there, rode the ride, had fun. We got a shitty spot on the train, which was another double bummer.
Yeah, there was no one on the ride, and yet we still got in the last car, in the last seat, and yet there was no one else other than one person in the front. And it was like, why did you space this out this much?
So that was like double bummer.
Yeah.
And then we get out of the ride, and there's just tons of people walking around Toontown.
Yeah. Well, not even just Toontown. I would say at the event, it had the same capacity that a regular park day would have, in my opinion. I didn't notice any lower crowds. Everything was about the same wait times for rides and stuff. It was so weird. It felt like just being there during the day, except for it was at night with these random characters and photo areas.
Yeah, and I think the triple bummer was that we kind of figured out later on in the party that they were just letting people walk back there after they gave us grief, telling us we couldn't walk back there. And it just kind of sullied the whole event for us because, again, like we just wanted to go back there and walk around. That was literally all we wanted to do. We didn't care about riding the ride. If we got on, great, cool, whatever. But like that wasn't our goal. Like we weren't trying to do that. We just wanted to go back there, maybe take some pictures, a little bit of video, and being like, hey, like we're at the whatever. And they were just like hard no. And then a few hours later, when the party started, after telling us they weren't going to do that for the party.
After the party, yeah.
They did.
Yeah.
And that was just really upsetting. And then when we got back there and because they were like, oh, well, you can't linger. like you can go ride the ride, but you have to leave.
Right. Yeah.
Was also another thing that they told us. And then there were tons of people just roaming around. Like nobody was policing them. Nobody was like, you have to leave. They were just letting it happen. So clearly there was no communication between the people that were gatekeeping, literally gatekeeping Toontown from day guests and people coming in for the party to the people inside it. And then even later on that night. So
the people have to question too. I know you were going to say, well, if they let you into Toontown, then they go right into the ride. That's not how it works. So you had to check in outside of Toontown. Then you walked inside of Toontown. There was people in front of the ride, and then you had to check in again to actually get into the queue for the ride. So they could have just let people tour around there. It didn't make any difference.
Yeah, it made absolutely no difference whatsoever. But that was like the biggest.
That was our first. That was our first 30 minutes prior to really the party starting, and it was like, wow, this is really off on a bad foot.
Yeah, and it kind of just put us in a weird mood for the rest of the night. And what else did we do? Did we ride any?
Yeah, we rode like rides. We rode a couple of the rides.
We did Matterhorn.
We walked the whole park and saw that. We saw all of the interactions. It just became like we would look at like, okay, so they had for instance, a Lady in the Tramp one, which was cute. I thought, oh, that's cute. He's sitting behind the pasta bowl. It has a little share, It has a little share. It has a little cutout of the waiter guy in the back, and then you have like the nice little layout, so it looks like it's in the movie. Cool. The line for that was at least 2 hours, if not 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
And like even the rides, with all these people waiting in these lines, the rides were still 30 to 45 minute waits. It was like, I don't understand. This is supposed to be a smaller event. It's supposed to be like fun. To me, it's the exact same capacity that the park normally has. So it was like, I'm not sure why we want to do this. And come to find out, between the year before and even this year, it's all the same stuff. They're not doing anything new. They're doing the same overlays down Main Street. They're doing the same character meet and greets. They're doing the same photo ops. So it's like, in the same foods. Why would I do that?
Yeah, and then the fireworks show was just kind of.
Oh, it was the fireworks show.
It was like not even 10 minutes. It was maybe 6 or 7 minutes long.
In fairness, Disneyland's fireworks don't seem to live up to Disney World's though.
Agreed. I would agree.
So,
and
it's because it's off a major highway. That's probably why. I'm not blaming Disney. I'm just saying it just really doesn't.
It's a different vibe out there. And then like the projections were cute on the sides of Main Street. There were aspects of it that were cute, but again, it goes back to I can't take a photo op because I would have had to stand in line from the time that I got there. And I understand if you are a local, like a Southern California local to Disneyland, then yes, you go to the parks all the time or most of the time. So for you to go and stand in lines and that's what you want to do, no hate against you, but that's clearly their priority. And that they do that.
100%.
They do 100%. Yep. Southern California Disney pass holders, that's what they do. And kudos to you guys because you've been to the park. And we're like that with Walt Disney World to an extent. When we go to Walt Disney World, we don't have to ride everything. We don't have to do everything because we know that park. We know what we've experienced. And even when we were living as locals, we would just go pop in for this or that. Like we don't have to hit everything. But as somebody going to Disneyland to that event who's not a pass holder, who's only been to Disneyland 3 or 4 times, obviously maybe one line not being 3 freaking hours long.
Yeah, like set up the same photo thing in different places to try to cut down on the lines. Have multiple characters out there meeting. Have multiple, they do. Jack Skellington, he's in a room. There's like 4 different ones of him in there to cut down on the time you're waiting in line. None of those things were done. And you can't say it's because they hadn't done it before because they had done it the previous years.
Yeah.
So nothing here was new. It's all the same.
So
and they're still making the same mistakes.
So we obviously have February at home and we're down and we're off. And we had the discussion. Do we go make a trip over to Disneyland for the event? Because we did last year and we had a good time. It just wasn't as good as I thought it should be for what we paid.
Yeah, and I would say we had more fun in the hotel and the stuff around Disneyland. We had more fun there than we did at Sweetheart's Night.
Yeah. Yeah, we made our own magic.
Right. Yeah, which is Disney's new slogan, if you all don't know, is make your own magic. Pay us $300 a ticket, but make your own magic.
Make your own magic, kids. But yeah, we had a great time in the hotel that we got. It was fantastic. It was the JW Marriott over by Disneyland. And honestly, if you're looking for a nice splurge, it was a nice hotel. Nice hotel.
Yeah.
It was chilly too. It was a chilly week. Just like it is currently this week. It is cold and rainy. I don't know what's happening, but the skies have opened up and decided to give us rain.
Yes. Thank you, Vegas.
Which ironically tonight is the Zach Bryan concert in Las Vegas, and my friend's going with her boyfriend. And I told her, I was like, you know what? It was raining our last Zach Bryan concert. Tell him he needs to stop coming to Las Vegas. He keeps bringing the rain. And we did. We stood outside in the pouring rain for that. But yeah, it's been an interesting weather pattern here. So yeah, we just decided not to go to Sweetheart's Night this year.
We can contemplate some of the other ones like 90s Night or even Star Wars, but it just doesn't have enough. Like I'd rather just go during the day, have the full park day. You're going to have the same crowds. Yeah. So what's the benefit other than seeing some stuff at night that has lights on? Yeah,
I would rather go in the middle of the week, try to get it on a low crowd as much as I possibly could and explore it to the best of my ability than feel like I'm with a bunch of other influencers who just want to take a picture.
Yeah, and pretend like it's the greatest thing since
sliced bread. God, it's the greatest thing. This is so good. So good. I give it 5 out of 5. Whatever the hell they're giving it.
5 out of 5 cuties.
Cuties. There's a guy we watch that gives cues. I don't understand it.
We watched one video of his. We don't watch him.
Yeah, we don't watch him. We watched a video of him, and it was confusing. And I don't understand the rating system for people. I don't get it. I don't get it at all. But hey, if that's what you like to do, keep doing it. If it works for you, it doesn't work for me.
So if you're watching us on YouTube on Lostgirlintomorrowland, thank you. And if you like this video, hit that thumbs up.
Make sure you hit that subscribe button.
And ring that notification bell so you get notified when we do at least 3 videos a week.
And we'll come and get you guys for the next one.
Ain't that the truth, baby Ruth? And all those in Awkward Chats podcast. We'll be right back.
We had some conversations off camera about this when I saw it. I wasn't sure if he had seen it yet, but he did see it. And we both are on Reddit. I mean, who isn't on Reddit? If you're not on Reddit, there's some interesting stuff on there.
There's some fun communities if you're interested in anything from cameras to TV to movies to
Barbies
to sexual kinks to just about everything you can think of.
Yeah, it's dark. So watch your kids if they're on Reddit. Anyways, this was posted. This was posted in Reddit Ask Men. Oh no, this is not this one. This is the other one. Yes, this was in Reddit Swingers.
Yes.
This was a different one that I was looking at. All right. So Reddit Swingers, as we said, sexual kinks are all over TikTok it is TikTok too, but Reddit. And so this one was posted a couple days ago, maybe a week ago. Not sure.
Who cares? Just get to it.
Okay. So it said, husband said she does it better is the title. Wife here. Sorry if I ramble. Husband loves BJs. When playing with our unicorn, she gave him an amazing BJ. I enjoyed watching him enjoy it. That night, during our discussion of the evening, he tells me she does it better, speaking of the BJ. Tells me her mouth is softer. Recommended that I take a fellatio class. Needless to say, I was gutted. Been married 20 years. We've been swinging for that long. I never heard him or any partner say anything bad about my blowjobs, except I've been told once or twice to watch my teeth. Unfortunately, I have a very, very small, narrow mouth. I'm pretty sure I'll never be able to give a BJ again without anxiety. I'm angry at my husband for telling me she's better, but I know I want him to have amazing BJs. The rational side of me says I should be happy to learn new things and ask her about her technique, etc., but my pride is too bruised to do it. I never want to see our unicorn again, or especially watch her give him a BJ again. I no longer find it as enjoyable as before because I know my husband is wishing that I could do it. I just lost it. Because I know my husband is wishing I could do it like her. And if we ditch our unicorn, we might lose other connections too. Would you swing with a couple where the wife won't give BJs? Because that's where I'm at right now. help. Okay. So yeah. So the community is interesting of itself because there was a lot of interesting comments that were made on this thread as well. I mean, I can tell you my sentiments on it. And personally, I think you can tell your partner things. Like, I think you should be truthful and I think you should be honest. I don't think you should ever be deceitful in a relationship where you are bringing other partners into it. However, there is a certain finesse and comfort that you need to do to communicate this effectively and not hurt your partner. Would you agree?
So what do you want to talk about first about this? Because you found it. So what is it specifically that interests you to this article? I mean, you got to give a little background here. You can't just like jump into like debriefing stuff.
I think just in general, I think the fact that she is asking the question of what does she do? I mean, it's an advice question. So I'm here to offer my advice and my 2 cents without going into the comments and dropping it.
So something I found interesting, there's fellatio classes. I would like to learn more about what happens at a fellatio class. I mean, I've seen, so back in the day, I had Playboy TV when I was a young buck, I guess. And there was a like real sex section. It was kind of like HBO's Real Sex. Mm-hmm. And they would like have this lady and it was kind of like an MLM. I mean, that's the thing that reminds me of. She would bring like dildos to their house and she would wash them in her dishwasher is how she would clean them. That's the part I remember the most. But she would like bring these like 10 dildos or whatever. And then she'd like go over different like techniques you could use in the household. So that's kind of what I relate when they say that. But again, I've never looked any further into like, do they have sex classes? It makes sense. Why wouldn't you, right? Because you got people who want to have sex and you want to get better.
Well, all the fellatio tips I have learned came from Cosmo, Redbook.
Right, like most people, yeah. It's not surprising. That's how most
random
people
Google searches on how to give good head.
Watching porn. Let's be honest. People learn from porn. It's not a good method. I'm just saying people learn that way.
I don't really learn from watching porn. That's not. I don't take that as a learning lesson because I think I take it from the vein of like majority of porn out there is not real in the sense of what they're doing. There's a lot of exaggeration that happens in like mass produced stuff, I guess you could say.
So something I found interesting was that it says that they were married 20 years. So it doesn't say how long they've been swinging. It just says they were married 20 years.
She just says they were in the lifestyle almost as long.
Right. So that doesn't really tell you much. And what does that mean? You know what I mean? Because being in the lifestyle, are they swapping? Are they just doing stuff together, but in like sex clubs? Are they actually fully engaging with people? Is it more like, because a unicorn situation is difficult to find.
Yes.
So that's not something that just kind of falls into your lap. It doesn't just happen. It's kind of like something that you plan out. You have to connect with somebody. A lot of people do it through like different social media apps and stuff, which is fine. No judgment how you do it. It's just, it's not easy. That's all I'm saying. Yeah. It's just not easy to do. So that's kind of an interesting piece that I found there. And if you've been doing it 20 years and no one has ever complained about anything, do you know why? Because people don't complain. That's the thing. People don't complain. If they don't like you as a sexual partner, they just move on.
They move on.
Right.
Yeah.
So to be like, no one complains, it's like, yeah, that's normal. No one is going to complain. They're just going to move on. My guess is she's attractive. I'm just shooting that out here. And no one's ever talked to her about whatever thing. So she thought that her attractiveness would pull her through whatever deficiency she has.
Yeah, that's possible. Yeah. That's definitely a plausibility. For sure.
So, go ahead.
No, I don't know what I was going to say.
So one thing I found in the comments too of this thread, because I had read this before Nacy approached it. She was going to just like tell me on the air and we were going to go from there. But I was like, oh, just give me a hint. And as soon as she said it, I was like, oh, I've read that one. But one of the things I found in the comments interesting was like, oh, I would just lie to my partner.
No.
And it's like, why would you do that? Why are you swinging if you're not comfortable enough to talk about whatever it is that's happening between you independently, between you with groups or whatever? Why would you ever swing if you're not comfortable with that conversation?
And I think a lot of people walk themselves into that trap. A lot of people. I mean, I read story after story where they're like, I didn't quite I wasn't quite 100% honest about this, but now I have this problem, but I wasn't honest to begin with, and now I've walked myself into something that's going to suck.
Yeah.
How do I get myself out of it? And it's like, it's going to suck. But I think what's interesting about the unicorn situation, though, that I think people don't ever take into account, where she is talking about, I know I don't want to like be with this person again. I think that is the reason why people have a hard time with unicorn situations, because the unicorn, the third person, whether it's male or female, it's usually female if it's a unicorn, but still,
I don't think it matters, but mostly
people forget that they're also a part of the relationship, and they're so quick to just cut them out, like axe. And like they don't get any equal communication, say, or anything in the relationship. And people don't take that into account when they add somebody into their relationship. There's a multitude of relationships going on there. You have you as a throuple together. You have your relationship with her, his relationship with her, and then your relationship together.
Right. Yeah. Most people in the swinging community don't like the word unicorn because it does create a one-sided sort of relationship when you use that word. Now, I'm not saying that's what they have. But with her comments with the whole, I want to cut it off, like she's the only say now. And you're right. If you've been doing it for 20 years, right, on and off, I'm assuming that, again, the thing about Reddit is they don't ever give enough details about their actual, it's like, oh, I have this problem. Here it is. Okay, so what led up to the problem? What is the reason why that problem? How long have you been doing X or Y? Those things are never included, and it's the same problem with this thing. So assuming that they've been together long, yeah, it can't be a unicorn situation after a while. If you're constantly seeing the same person over and over again, that's not a unicorn situation anymore. That's more of a throuple, like you said. It's a three-person. And you're right. Then you have different emotions across different people and all those connections together, as well as separate, that you have to take into account.
And she's definitely not accounting for that at any point. She's just, this unicorn is quote unquote a person that's there for her enjoyment. And it very well may be what they have set up, but I don't necessarily view that as a positive going into a relationship.
Yeah, and the weird thing is it doesn't say if she's bisexual, so you don't know if she's actually engaging with the unicorn. It could just be him engaging with the unicorn. And also, when we talked about this first off, it was like, is the guy upset? Like, what led to this discussion? Was it something that he was angry about? And he's one of those people that just says something to make you hurt. You know what I mean? Where they're having a discussion that was not...
Yeah, like what brought this up?
Right. It wasn't in a positive light. And he's like, oh, you're not very good at BJs. You know, that's his like snapback. Because we read another one later on that's like, my wife slept with like 250 people before we got married. Should I be upset? And it kind of links to that, right? Because, okay, first thing is, what brought that up? What is making you so upset all of a sudden out of this thing? And she already says that other people have said that she uses teeth sometimes. Okay, have you done anything to try to change and make it better? Or you just keep doing the same thing and now you're upset that they still have the same complaint from the beginning? Like, it's just, it's not really clear like how this conversation began. And it does, from her explanation of it, which is so one-sided, so take that for what it is, it does seem like it would be something that somebody would like clap back. Like, you're having an argument and be like, you're not very good at BJs.
Which, again, I think if that is exactly how it was put and how it was said to her, then yeah, that's a low blow. There's obviously a jealousy issue going on here where and obviously I'm not her, I'm assuming where she's at based on her verbiage and how she's explaining the story. But she clearly thinks that there's a stronger connection between her husband and this person than she has, because he says that she can't give good blowjobs and she wants to be the one that is the ultimate giver of blowjobs to him. That's what I think. Or
maybe she just doesn't want to give them at all, and this is her scapegoat to get out of it. I mean, it could be the other option too. Being devil's advocate here, like maybe she doesn't like doing them just in general. Maybe it couldn't even be a him thing. Maybe she just doesn't like doing it, and this is the kind of scapegoat.
But then why be upset if he says that she gives it better? If you don't even want to give them,
why is your mom upset for things that she shouldn't be upset about? It's a tactic that people use to win arguments. Like, you've seen it before. I mean, I'm not saying that's what she's doing. I'm just saying it could be a tactic. Now, playing devil's advocate here too, something I find interesting. So if you do any type of swinging with your partner, communication is key, right?
Correct.
You know, you can find that anywhere. But the interesting piece here is that it's like, oh, he had the best time ever. So aren't you happy about that? Like, aren't you happy that he had the best blowjob of his life and you were there? Wouldn't you be happy about that?
You were there. You got to witness it.
Right. But you also get to see your partner in ecstasy. Like, isn't that a positive? But this turns it into like some negative, horrible thing. So then even on the flip side, should they continue to go down this path, which I don't believe they've been doing it for 20 years, if you have this limited of conversations and this much sort of easily, like if...
this easily upsets you.
Right. He said one thing that this person did was better than the stuff that you've done, and all of a sudden you're not going to do it anymore. Like, to me, that just seems very immature.
I agree. But I think if he wanted her to do better, and he maybe wanted her to change things up, there's ways that he could have told her. And again, we don't know how the conversation was brought up to begin with, but if this is truly how it was laid out, then he could have laid it out a little better to be like, hey, like, I really liked how she did A, B, and C. If you do C, I bet like that'll make it even better when I'm with you. Like, there's ways that he could do it, because I'm sure any person's ego is going to be hurt when their partner that you're intimate with, your primary partner, tells you that so-and-so does it better.
No, you can't make that assumption. That's a huge assumption that you're making. You're making people's on different personalities, different perspectives of it. And that's a huge assumption to be like, you're going to be upset. It doesn't, like, it's just interesting because you're never going to be the best. There's always going to be somebody better. If you can't accept that, then that's the world, man. It's the thing that, like, Michael Jordan said as an athlete too, there's always going to be somebody better. So, like, it's just...
And I think if you open the door to a third or a fourth to come and join you in your most intimate space, those are conversations you got to have.
Right.
And you got to be okay with the jealousy side of it, because I think jealousy is a factor in that. It's how you process it and how you work through it that makes it better. And maybe there are people who swing that have zero jealousy. Perhaps.
No, I don't think it's possible to have zero jealousy. Everyone's jealous. It's human nature.
But so you have to accept that that's right. Going to happen.
You're going to have to work through it. I think I keep getting sidetracked. It's weird. So you talked about a little bit ago, you talked about the whole, like, is this the best approach for him to do it? Obviously that's not. Obviously just to be like, she's better if your attempts are to improve, but you don't really know how this conversation came about. You don't even really know what he said. She's not like she's quoting him.
Correct.
You know what I mean? He just, and so it's very sort of difficult, but you're right. If you're trying to make the experience better between you and your significant other, approaching it like that probably is not the best approach, especially she seems very jealous, which kind of begs the question, why are you swinging if you're this jealous?
Yeah, I would 100% agree. And again, why are you swinging if you can't have these conversations with your partner? And two, people make mistakes. We're all human. So yeah, so he came at you, he said something that hurt you. Are you going to be woman enough to go back to him to be like, hey, the way you said that hurt my feelings, and now I'm questioning the lifestyle, before you just go in and are like, no, you can't have any more blowjobs from her or anyone ever again. Because I'm guessing that's where she's going with this.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's about woman or man enough or anything like that. I think it's just having a solid relationship to be able to talk about these things, and also having the respect for each other. And the respect for the third person, too. Yeah. Like, from what you read in this, she has no respect for that third person.
Agreed. And I think that's my biggest problem with the way the whole thing reads, is you don't have any respect for this third person that you've allowed into this intimate space, and their feelings have... And I'm not saying don't cut the relationship off. Obviously, if it's not working for you, then yes. But at some point, you should be human enough to sit down and have that conversation with the third person to be like, it's just not working. But it should be a conversation that you have with your significant other, and then have not just, because she's talking about cold turkey, never speaking to her again.
Right. She's talking about personal relationships. She's talking about every type of relationship cutting off from this person. Yeah. The thing that it makes it kind of hard to talk about too, assuming 20 years, even if they started at 18, they would be at least in their 30s. My guess is they're probably 40s to 50s would be my guess of their age range. And again, no ages are in this post, so that's a total assumption on my part, but trying to figure out the math so that you guys understand what I'm saying. one of two things. Maybe they got into it when they were very young, and they count these swinging experiences like the occasional like fun that they had with friends. And maybe they're just not mature enough in their relationships right now to be able to handle any of this, or at least she isn't. I don't know about the guy because
he is not in there.
Perspective at all. Right.
So how would you approach this? Is kind of my question to the audience. Is what's your takeaway on the story?
Yeah. What if your significant other said that someone else that you were having fun with was better than you?
Yeah. What would you?
Or if you have a partner and that partner that you were with in this one situation was better than your long-term partner, what would you say there too?
Or what if you're the unicorn?
What if you're the unicorn?
What if you're the unicorn? How do you feel about those situations? I know me personally, if I was a unicorn, which I'm not, because obviously I'm married, but like if I was a unicorn in those situations, I can't help but think that I would be upset, because if you're the type of person who has relationships with other people and you develop that as like a friendship and a closeness, it's not just like because if it's a random stranger that you hooked up with at a club and you were cool with that and you're never going to talk or speak to them again, that's different than being like, we're cutting it off. But this makes it sound like they cultivated a relationship outside of the bedroom. And I don't think that's cool to just cut people off like that.
Well, I would say the two big pieces I think that we can agree on is that, one, you shouldn't lie. A lot of the people in the comments are like, you shouldn't have said this, or you're an idiot for saying this. You can say you're an idiot because you didn't say it in a more diplomatic approach, but you can't say you're an idiot because you said it. Because, if you ask, you want an answer.
And you should have honesty.
Yeah, exactly. And then the other one is communication has to be open. It's clearly that there's some communication breakdowns in this. It's clear that, to me, it seems like she either wants to get out of the relationship with the partner as a whole, or she wants to get out of the swinging / polyamorous relationship. She wants to get out of that lifestyle. There's definitely some kind of like flags that are being flown in that background. It's kind of like that TikTok guy I told you about where he runs across the field with the red flags.
Red flags.
So there's some definitely dude running across the field with the red flag from that post.
Yeah, and it's definitely something I think that is prominent in the community. Not all of them are bad. Like, not all people in those communities are bad and want to just cut things off and are emotionally immature. But there definitely seems to be a lot of emotional immaturity in some people who decide to move forward with this lifestyle.
Yeah, and it goes back to the whole, like, the other person didn't do anything wrong.
Right.
And yet you're going to cut them out of your life because they're too good at something.
Mm-hmm.
It's like going and playing pickup games of basketball and being like, that guy's really good, I'm never coming back here.
It's an ego.
Yeah, it's like, why would you do that? Like, what does that have to do with anything?
And that goes together in any relationship too.
Right.
Like, you can't have an ego because, like, what if you cooked better than I did?
Right.
I mean, he definitely bakes better than I do. I'll tell you that. Which did kind of hurt my feelings initially, but I'm like, I'm gonna let him take that over. You know what I mean? Like, there's give and takes in relationships, and clearly your ego was bruised and hurt, and instead of coming back to the table to be like, let's talk about this, it's like, oh my God, I just want to cut it all off, and if I cut it off, then the pain will go away, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
And that's not necessarily the case, I don't think. I think even after you cut out the relationship, the problem's still there. You're still, every time you give him head, you're going to be thinking, well, she does it better because you haven't talked about it.
Right. Yeah, I think if I had to give advice to this woman just from the Reddit post, just from what she said, I would say the first thing is you need to take some time out and realize why you're so upset about this. You need to figure out why it is that it's upsetting you so much that he said that. And then the second piece is you got to communicate. It's not that other person's fault.
Mm-hmm.
If you decide to end the relationship, that's totally your choice. I can't tell you to do or not do that. But if you're just going to end it on something that person's never even going to be aware what the problem was, I feel like if you cultivate a relationship, you should have the courage and the honesty to be able to talk to them too and be like, this is why it needs to end.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. I agree with all those sentiments. And it was an interesting post to read. And I thought it would make sense to share with our audience. And I'm going to kind of be on the lookout for more stories like this.
It's definitely awkward.
Yeah.
Imagine if you said it in the middle of it. Like, oh, this is the best I've ever had. That would be horrible. Do not do that. That would be a horrible decision, just being clear. And you would be the jerk in that situation. 100%.
Yeah, you'd definitely be the asshole.
Yeah.
I would definitely be the asshole.
unless they have a kink for that. Unless they have a kink of being put down, then I get it. It's part of your dynamic.
Right.
But yes.
Right.
There's very few situations where that would be a good thing.
Yeah. Agreed. Don't come at us in the comments. Like, there are situations where that works and that's appropriate. Right. But yeah, so always curious to know what you guys think and how you would like to weigh in on this situation, and just kind of open to discussion. Yeah. I'm curious. Always curious.
So then our last segment, we watched a bunch of like love movies the last couple weeks. All these like love stories from Sweet Home Alabama to The Notebook to, oh gosh, so many freaking movies. So many.
That movie that was supposed to be a love movie, but it ended up Ghost.
Ghost.
Yes. Ghost is noted to be a romance movie.
Yeah, I'm hard pressed to feel like that's
it's
romance.
More like a drama suspense.
Sci-fi, yeah.
Yeah.
But so we watched them. And do you have a favorite? We'll just end up with that. What is your favorite?
Oh, my favorite romantic movie?
Mm-hmm.
I am a big fan. Well, like, okay, so there's two. Two of my favorite movies.
Okay.
I like A Walk to Remember. Only thing that sucks about that one is she dies in the end, and it's kind of sad. But I just love the fact that he like goes out of his way to try and make her bucket list happen in the short amount of time that she has. And Nicholas Sparks, I mean, he's a great romance writer. Yeah, so I really, really love A Walk to Remember. I think I saw the movie in theaters like 10 times. I know. Bought the movie, lost the movie, rebought it recently. We found it at that movie store.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so that one is a personal favorite of mine. And then behind that would be The Notebook, also a Nicholas Sparks.
Okay.
Again, it's about a man who just does what he like for the love of his life. Like, he tells her the story of how they met and their life and their love story every day, and then she forgets who he is, and then he comes right back to the table. It makes me mad.
Okay.
What about you?
I would say my favorite love story is Sweet Home Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
That's my favorite. It's been my favorite since I saw it back in the early 2000s. Serendipity used to be a close second, but it's just, the more I watch it, the less it just kind of meh.
So what about Sweet Home Alabama makes it your favorite romance movie? Like, what is it in Sweet Home Alabama that's like,
I think it's just a good mix of comedy and romance. It's not too heavy on that sort of romantic tone that some movies can fall into. I just find the characters interesting. Reese Witherspoon's pretty good in the movie. And the guy who plays her love interest, I don't remember what his name is. I think he plays it pretty good too.
Okay. I can accept that.
I can accept that.
I can accept that. Yeah. Well, let us know too if you guys want to pull in what's your favorite.
What's your favorite? Yeah.
What's your favorite romance movie to watch on Valentine's Day, or Netflix and chill, or an anniversary, or
yeah.
I mean, our anniversary movie, believe it or not, is The Grudge. So
yep.
Yeah. We talked about that last year on the Valentine's Day podcast. You can go back and listen to that. We also kind of have recreated our first date a few times on the channel in various locations.
Yeah, Lostgirlintomorrowland at YouTube.
So if you guys want to see that, you can always go back and see that. We have an interesting love story, I think. It's an interesting, we're true millennials in the sense that we met digitally. Yeah.
Yeah, now we're where we are.
Yeah. 19 years, but almost 20 years. This will be 19 years together. And this year, we are going to go have Brazilian steakhouse.
Yeah, down on the strip. So hopefully it'll be a good experience. The steakhouse is good. We've had it before. Hopefully it's just as good as it was. Getting there, hopefully that's not a problem, because it's the strip on Valentine's Day. So if you know, you know. Thankfully,
it'll be post Super Bowl.
Yes.
So be on the lookout for that Super Bowl quickie.
And if you want to see our eating at the Brazilian Steakhouse, we'll be filming that for the channel. So go over to Lost Girl in Tomorrowland and subscribe.
That'll be coming out soon, next couple weeks or so. So
so this should finish up our awkward chats for February 2024.
And thank you guys for listening and supporting our podcast and our channel and all things Lost Girl.
Yeah, we're over 100 views on our podcast. Super excited. It's moving in the right direction. And we look forward to giving you many more hours of our fun ramblings.
So make sure you guys, I think there's a like button for podcasts. If you guys liked it, give us a thumbs up and
subscribe to that channel. And we'll see you in the next one.
Yeah, we'll catch you guys in the next one.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.